Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Daily Fluent English. I'm your host, Olivia, and today we're diving into an incredibly important topic that affects all of us: mental health awareness. If you've ever struggled with anxiety, depression, burnout, or simply felt overwhelmed by life's challenges, I encourage you to stay with me until the end of this episode. The concepts and vocabulary we'll cover today won't just improve your English fluency, but they might also give you valuable tools to discuss your feelings more effectively, and perhaps even change how you approach your own mental well-being. Mental health awareness has become increasingly important in our modern society, yet many people still find it difficult to talk about their mental health struggles. In many cultures, there's still a stigma around discussing these issues openly. However, the ability to express ourselves when we're struggling mentally is crucial for getting the support we need. Today, I'll share some of my personal experiences with mental health, introduce essential vocabulary for discussing this topic in English, and provide a natural conversation example to help you become more comfortable with these expressions. I want to start by sharing a little bit about my own journey with mental health. A few years ago, I was working at a high-pressure job in marketing. I was constantly connected to my email, taking calls at all hours, and working through weekends. I thought I was being productive and proving my worth, but in reality, I was heading straight toward burnout. At first, I didn't recognize the signs. I was having trouble sleeping, feeling irritable with my friends and family, and experiencing frequent headaches. I kept pushing myself, thinking that if I just worked harder, everything would be fine. I started to withdraw from social activities, telling myself I was just too busy, when in reality, I was becoming increasingly anxious in social situations. The turning point came when I had a panic attack during an important presentation. My heart was racing, I couldn't catch my breath, and my thoughts became so jumbled that I couldn't continue speaking. I had to excuse myself, and I remember sitting in a bathroom stall, trying to pull myself together while feeling like my world was falling apart. That experience forced me to confront what was happening. I finally reached out to a therapist who helped me understand that I was experiencing anxiety and the early stages of depression. Learning to talk about these feelings was the first step toward healing. I had to learn new vocabulary not just in English, but in the language of mental health and emotional awareness. Through therapy, I learned the importance of setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and recognizing my own triggers. I started to meditate, exercise regularly, and reconnect with activities that brought me joy. Gradually, I developed better coping mechanisms and became more resilient. One of the most valuable lessons I learned was that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness. Many of us, especially in achievement-oriented societies, have been conditioned to believe that we should handle everything on our own. But humans are social creatures, and we're not meant to carry our heaviest burdens alone. I also discovered how important it is to have the right vocabulary to express what you're feeling. When English isn't your first language, finding the words to describe complex emotional states can be especially challenging. That's why I wanted to create this episode to help bridge that gap and give you the tools to express your mental health concerns in English. These experiences changed how I view mental health and self-care. I realized that taking care of your mental well-being isn't a luxury or something you do only when you're struggling. It's an essential part of living a balanced, fulfilling life. Now, I consider mental health maintenance as important as physical health, and I make it a priority every day. Now that I've shared my experience, let's move on to some practical language. When discussing mental health in English, it's helpful to know expressions like feeling overwhelmed, burning out, needing space, or taking a mental health day. Understanding the difference between saying, "I'm sad," versus, "I'm experiencing depression," can be crucial for getting the right kind of support. I think sharing these personal stories helps normalize conversations about mental health. Too often, we only see the polished, successful versions of people's lives, especially on social media, and this can make us feel isolated in our struggles. Now, Let's listen to a conversation example between two friends discussing their mental health challenges and how they support each other.
Conversation example.
Hey Jamie, you've seemed a bit distant lately. Is everything okay?
To be honest, not really. I've been struggling with my mental health for the past few months. Some days, I can barely get out of bed.
I'm really sorry to hear that. Thank you for telling me. Have you been able to talk to anyone about it?
Not much. You know how it is. There's still a stigma around mental health issues. I worry people will think I'm just being dramatic or that I can't handle normal stress.
I understand that concern, but you're not alone. I went through something similar last year. Have you considered talking to a professional?
I finally made an appointment with a therapist for next week. I've been putting it off because I wasn't sure if my problems were serious enough to warrant therapy.
I'm glad you're taking that step. There's no threshold of suffering you need to cross before seeking help. Even if you're just feeling a bit off, talking to someone can make a huge difference.
That's reassuring to hear. How was your experience with therapy?
It was challenging at first. Opening up about my deepest insecurities wasn't easy, but my therapist gave me practical coping strategies that have been life-changing. I learned to recognize my triggers and how to manage my anxiety before it spirals.
That sounds really helpful. I've been trying to practice mindfulness and meditation, but it's hard to stay consistent when you're feeling low.
Absolutely. On those days when self-care feels impossible, I've found that even tiny steps help, like just drinking a glass of water or stepping outside for 5 minutes. Sometimes I use the 5-minute rule. I commit to doing something for just 5 minutes, and often I end up continuing once I've started.
That's a great tip. I'll try that. Did you tell people at work about what you were going through?
I was selective about it. I had a conversation with my manager about needing some accommodations temporarily. I was surprised by how understanding she was. We worked out a more flexible schedule for a few weeks, which gave me space to attend therapy and practice self-care.
I'm nervous about having that conversation with my boss. I worry it might affect how they see my capabilities.
That's a valid concern. You don't have to disclose everything, just focus on what you need to perform well. Sometimes asking for what you need demonstrates self-awareness and professionalism. Would it help if I helped you plan what to say?
That would be amazing. Thank you for being so supportive and not just telling me to cheer up or that. It's all in my head.
Those responses can be so frustrating. Mental health challenges are just as real as physical ones, even if they're not as visible. I'm here for you, whatever you need, whether it's practical advice, a distraction, or just someone to listen without judgment.
That means more than you know. I've been feeling so isolated lately.
Remember, healing isn't linear. There will be good days and difficult days. Be patient with yourself, just as you would with a friend going through the same thing.
You're right. I need to practice self-compassion. It's just hard when your own mind is working against you.
Exactly. And on those days when self-compassion feels impossible, borrow some of mine. I believe in your strength and resilience, even when you can't see it yourself.
Listening to Alex and Jamie's conversation, I'm struck by how supportive and understanding they are with each other. Notice how they use phrases like, "I understand that concern. That's a valid concern." And, "I'm here for you, whatever you need." These expressions show empathy and create a safe space for vulnerable conversations. I also appreciate how they acknowledge that healing isn't linear and that seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. The language they use is compassionate rather than judgmental, which is so important when discussing mental health. Their conversation demonstrates how having the right vocabulary can make these discussions more productive and supportive. When someone says they're struggling with mental health, rather than just saying they feel sad or stressed. It communicates the seriousness of the situation and opens the door for more meaningful support. I hope today's episode has been helpful, both for expanding your English vocabulary around mental health and perhaps for reflecting on your own well-being. Remember that taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health, and being able to talk about it openly is a crucial skill in any language. If you found this episode valuable, please share it with others who might benefit from it. And keep an eye out for our next episode, where we'll continue exploring important topics that impact our daily lives while enhancing your English fluency. Until next time, take care of yourselves, mentally, physically, and emotionally. This is Olivia from Daily Fluent English, signing off.